Welcome. We have Christopher Marston from Exemplar Companies. He's the CEO of Exemplar Companies. Thank you so much for being here, Christopher.
Great to be here.
Yeah, I know that. Tell me a little bit about Exemplar Companies. I know you work with some great progressive companies, but what exactly do you do with them?
Sure. Well, we're an accelerator of sorts in the professional services realm. We're a confluence of the first non-billable hour corporate law firm in American history, with non-billable hour tax and accounting, a corporate strategy and advisory, and a FINRA member broker-dealer investment bank. So we've holistically integrated them all to pretty much accelerate revolutionaries and game changers and impact businesses through their life cycle. Exemplar is a benefit corporation, the first in the state of Delaware, and we have a quad bottom line. We added the spiritual bottom line to the triple bottom line, and really it's a big, strong part of our value system.
Right on. Well, I love that you have spirituality as part of a measurement of success. So with that, this is a great segue into this question that we're asking leaders such as yourself. But what is a conscious brand?
Oh, sure. Well, I was thinking about that before the call. I wanted to sort of distinguish a conscious human from a conscious brand because it's an intentional question, right? Presumably conscious brands are started by conscious humans, but they don't always become conscious brands. So why? And so much of that has to do with figuring out how, when we give birth to these things called corporations or limited liability companies, how we give them behaviors and habits and qualities that themselves are conscious, not just the founders, right? So I think a conscious brand is a company that itself has a conscience and has habits and has a value system and a point of view that's authentic to what its mission and values are when it was created. And part of that is getting over the hump of doing the work of being a founder and then finding a way as founder to impart upon the organization those factors so that it becomes real.
Right on. Yeah, so that's a really curious point because we have the saying that an organization can't be any more conscious than the leadership that is part of that organization. Right. And then it just kind of ripples out from there.
And it can certainly not be conscious at all, even if the founder is, right? So there's certainly extremes.
That's a good point. We can't make those assumptions that just because an individual or the leader is conscious, that therefore the organization is conscious as well. Yeah. Nice one. So what are some of the biggest roadblocks that you see in organizations in becoming a conscious brand?
Well, look, people are everything in a brand, right? And people, entrepreneurs, business owners find it hard enough to find the right people without applying criteria to it that allow, that require stars and moon and sun to align around value system and habits. But ultimately, the biggest barrier to manifesting a conscious brand could very well be the people if they're not aligned. So the question is, are you a CEO that's waken up, have awoken at some point in your business and have defined you wanted to become conscious, and at some point you realize the people around you aren't, and then you've got a bit of a crisis of human capital, or are you looking for the unicorns, right? And if you are, that has its own struggles and challenges. So I think the thing that most people struggle with actually is the human part.
Mm-hmm. So that's a really great point, because human capital, I think, is an undervalued asset in organizations, and we're seeing the emergence of that consciousness within conscious brands that are taking that role. So what sort of leadership is required in a conscious brand to manage that human capital or awaken that human capital?
Well, that's a great question, right? I kind of feel like it's an inspirational form of leadership in a way, because you're dealing with values. And the great thing about vision is that it's not yours or mine. It's everyone can have it. We can share it.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that happens. But the way that somebody that works, for instance, in our organization manifests our values is different than the next person. And maybe some people have a piece of the puzzle. It depends on how complex and multifaceted your vision is. And You can't expect everyone to be everything. So you've got to find ways to lean in and inspire people. You've got to meet them at where they're at with enough raw material, but inspire them to be better versions of themselves within a framework of being out there in the world, championing some part of the mission.
Right. So what I hear is that the leadership is really kind of this this visionary that can put those pieces together, and then also, if there's a piece that doesn't fit, really help that piece find its place in the overall, framing of the organization.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's lots of people, for instance, that may do volunteer work, but how does that connect into whether or not, are they doing anything differently with your organization than they did forever? Are they cleaning out, fish, what are they, trout ladders in a pond or something like that? But are you doing that as a team, or have they been just continuing their individual efforts, and how you inspire people to do things together? Mm-hmm. And understanding that we together are a brand, but we individually are autonomous. But we have to be authentic in sort of both of those lives, right? It's easier said than done. Yeah,
and there's something about bringing your whole self to work, and as leaders acknowledging that there is some deliberate developmental side of that, and I guess that's the book with an everyone culture is really that idea that we're bringing ourselves, whether we share it or not, we're bringing our whole selves to work.
Yeah. I mean, look, creating a safe place for that, for the full self to manifest is important, and that's part of being, a supportive force for team, and there's ways in which the team's values support your mission that they can emerge as leaders in some aspect of how your values manifest in the business, which can have greater impact than they ever would if you did it individually.
Mm-hmm. 1 + 1 = 4 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give a new or emerging conscious brand?
Well, I think work with other conscious brands, work with leaders of other conscious brands, find out, ask people who've done it before. There's all your success leaves clues, right? People have struggled with some of the same issues around everything from people to policy to authenticity. Even brands that are trying to be conscious get tremendous criticism, and whether that's Starbucks or Whole Foods, and we've all seen them go through the ringer on certain issues of their values, and where things cross into political statements versus consciousness, and it's what a fine line, right? What a fine line. Somehow along the way we've lost our way, right? And the conscious community is trying to bring all that back and create stories about companies that could be like theirs. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we aspire to do. But again, we've got to do it together, and that has to be a big force of support and a dropping of the egos to make all that happen.
Absolutely, yeah. Move that. It's that journey that from the head to the heart. That's challenging 16 inches. So, what actions are you taking on your path to become a more conscious brand?
Well, with us, it is really a human capital effort, because particularly in professional services, in the knowledge work space, our gift, we are giving who we are. We're giving of our knowledge, we're giving of our heart and passion and life experience. And as professionals guiding conscious leaders, we first need to start with the raw material people that have the right heart, that want to care for a living and be accountable to being a better version of themselves every day. And for that, we spend a lot of time and care on the front end of people, human capital.
Right on.
The rest you can systematize anything you want, but I can tell you somebody that doesn't share your values is not showing up for the volunteer, whatever you're doing, and the team meetings and everything else, because they're not drinking the Kool-Aid. So you better spend your time on that.
Yeah, and that's so important, that cultural side of things. And sometimes, as you shared, that higher purpose gets lost as organizations scale, and really kind of coming back to center. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think write down your principles, right? I mean, we've all been around somebody whose mere presence can suck the energy out of a room because they're just not a right fit, or they're Debbie Downer or something like that. you've got to figure out what it is that makes the recipe of like somebody that's aligned,
Mm-hmm.
and just check them against the list when you're interviewing afterwards and say, is this a fit? And stick to your guns on it, because if you do it right, you realize how much time and energy and training and love and care goes into cultivating and shaping the humans that you put your arm around and call work family. And you just don't want to make that investment for people that aren't a fit. You've got to pick right. But again, all this is easier said than done. Jack Welch only got it right 50% of the time, and he didn't mention anything about all these values overlays that we're talking about now.
It's very true. Very true. So, well, hopefully we're making those pivots where we need to, and dynamically steering our organizations to be more conscious and more conscious in what they do. So,
hope so.
Awesome. Well, Christopher, thank you so much for being part of this. I love what the Exemplar company is doing, and look forward to continuing to see and hear about all your successes.
Awesome. Thanks for getting together with me, and appreciate it, and love to support what you're doing, and we're here together.
Awesome. Go further together. Thanks, Christopher.
You got it. Take care.
Will do. Ciao.